What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. All right, guys, so this has really been something that's been building up for the past couple of days. I've faced so many questions since I started doing these live streams about what is going on within the secondary with Sean Desai's coverage calls. You know, we had Slay come out and make a video where he kind of talked about the way that they were playing within 2-minute offense structures, like the way that they defend those things. There's a lot going on here, man. You know, there's definitely some back and forth going on Twitter that probably would be a good place to start off with, which is kind of like what I'm seeing on Twitter, and then kind of go into a couple of those plays and really break down the coverage call, because I definitely see some confusion where some of the concepts are confusing people a little bit. So to begin with, guys, I'm going to go ahead and I want to pull up and I want to show an exchange that was happening on Twitter so that way we can kind of set the where we're at in terms of like what was going on. So I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share Johnny Page's Twitter. So Johnny Page puts on up here and he says, like, Eagles defense, all 22 versus Washington. He said, I found some of the off coverage, especially from Slay, just too passive throughout the game. This is just so easy to get 15 yards. It happened too often. I don't just see all Fangio defenses as passive like some, but this is getting annoying, or this is annoying. All right. I'm not coming after Johnny Page. I actually think he's got a pretty good Twitter account. I think he does a fairly good job. It's not my intent to like go after another content creator per se. However, it did spark some debate, man. Like, you know, Slay didn't directly say Johnny Page's play, and I don't think Johnny Page did anything out of line there. You know, I think he was a little vague in what he was saying, just saying like, hey, man, there's a lot of off coverage here. But when you went down to the comments under it, I think you started seeing a lot of people were confused. You know how Twitter can be, man. You know, you got folks calling for people's jobs with an undefeated team 4 games into the season. Like, you know how folks are, y'all. Come on now. So Slay ended up responding back. And that's one that I think is really interesting to get into, which is what Slay was saying, and then go into the video footage. I'm going to and just show you guys a couple of things, like show you guys a couple of things from the 22, like what's happening, like the X's and O's behind it, what I agree with and what I disagree with in terms of the coverage that's being called currently. So I'm going to go to video file. I want to share a video file with you guys. I think we should start off with Slay. Right now, I don't have Slay stuff in the description, but I will add Slay to the description once I finish the live stream, guys, just in case you guys want to go watch that. So that way his channel does receive credit.
Address the fans and the ones in his comments. I see the comments. I see all of it. I read my tweets. I do it all. Y'all keep asking while we was playing soft coverage. Maybe y'all bring y'all into the football world. So our offense go down there and go score. We up 7. Right now, the defense got to play as a conceive this defense. We call it conceive. So,
all right, let's pause it right there because, okay, they call it conceive. You know, behind the scenes, he's telling you, like, Desai in the meeting rooms as they were putting this stuff together in terms of the install of the defense and bringing those plays together that would create the playbook from the install. They call this concept conceive, which, by other words, let's be real, it's prevent. This is prevent defense.
We do not want these guys to go to score. They had one timeout. So we tackle them in bounds, they can use a timeout. Boom. Now they got no timeouts. If you press in a 2-minute situation up 7, you are inviting a go ball. So you're inviting a one-on-one coverage at the end of the game when you're up 7. Now, if we was up 3, we got to challenge these guys because we don't want them to get the 3 points and force it to overtime. So,
all right. To Slay's credit here, I get the nuance of what he's saying, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. What he's saying is situationally, what we've all pretty much kind of known deep down, which is the fact that preventing big plays and accumulating big plays is kind of one of the core philosophies of each game plan. We knew that. So obviously when they're getting in a 2-minute situation, Slay is outright telling you part of what they do defensively in that prevent style that they play, what he called earlier. I don't remember the exact terminology he used for, but whatever he used earlier. Basically what he's saying is like, they don't want to get those opportunities to where you could be singled up on a guy and then get vertical on them. Right. And I will say that I see a couple of the comments here, guys. I do agree that there was soft coverage throughout the game, and I'm going to get into some of this. But I will say, like, if you go there, you can see the staples of, like, the Mike Zimmer stuff. You can see the staples of like, the Vic Fangio stuff to where you do normally see this to where they'll take their coverage. And if you split the field on that coverage, you'll see a lot of times on the field side, they play off coverage, but on the boundary, they play tight. I think what Slay is saying in this moment is that when they get down inside that 2 minute, when they're defending a 2 minute offense, they just play off. They're trying to keep everything in front of them. They're not splitting these fields and doing those things. I think that's the subtlety of what he's trying to say.
That's why we be playing off. That's why we let the catches get the ball caught in front of us so we could go down and tackle and keep them in bounds. Now, I can say one play, I did forget what the down the distance was. I think it was like a 4th and 2 maybe, or 3rd and 2 maybe. I think it was really 4th and 2 to be honest. And I just really forgot. I thought they got the first down or so whatever. I was just getting back and lined up, hurry up offense, getting a call from my guy, and lining up. But I probably could have pressed that blade and chance to get off the field and win the game again. But that's just me not knowing the down and distance. But overall.
Okay. I wish he didn't say that last part. I respect the crap out of the leadership here to put the onus on himself that like, hey, man, I'm supposed to be one of the leaders on this team. I made a mistake in a critical moment in the game to where I'd mistaken the down and distance here. And that cost us to where I could have probably played up a little bit more, been a little bit more aggressive given the nature of the down and the distance, and we could have gotten off the field. I appreciate that, but it also leads into what a lot of us have said and are concerned about, which is communication on the back end. It's scary at times. We are not doing a great job passing off coverages and communicating. That's a communication error where a veteran player doesn't know the actual like down and distance that he's facing in a pivotal moment in the game. Like these are the things that have got to get cleaned up. Like, I'm not one of these, the sky's falling. I'm not one of those people. Like, I think that we will get it cleaned up, but I'm also very well aware there are better offenses out there to where if we make these type of mistakes, it's going to be a long day. Like they're going to make life very hard on us. Some of this stuff has definitely got to get cleaned up.
Offense. When you play 2 minute offense, a lot of guys play off just so the big play doesn't happen and a one-on-one does not happen and make it a big play. Make sure the ball is caught in front of us so we can tackle and we can waste time. Like lay on them a little bit. Y'all seen them lay on people technique. They just lay on them, waste about 3 seconds, hop up, move the ball a little bit sometime. Y'all know the tricks in the books. We just can't let the big play happen. So that's why we was playing off. But that's to give y'all some inside football talk.
All right. And I appreciate Slay for doing that. I mean, to be fair, I don't think that's an easy thing to do as a player, to jump on a YouTube channel and critique your performance and admit that you had a lapse in leadership and judgment in a game. I mean, I do respect that aspect of what he did there to take the onus on himself to say like, hey man, I was the guy that should have, we definitely should have known what was being called there. Definitely should have known the situation. Like I clearly made a mistake there. I get it. But I will say this, it's a little frustrating just because like the move that we made worked so well in Tampa Bay to where they were very strategic about when they played James Bradberry inside. They were strategic about using big nickel, but then we got into a situation. Okay. We got into a situation from an injury standpoint, and I don't know what you can do about the type of injuries we faced and the number of them. And like, you have to keep rolling with the punches, man. And you hope at some point you're going to get back to a relatively level of health. I mean, we know Avonte Maddox could be down for the entirety of the season. Like there's some debate if we make the postseason, if he could come, well, we're going to make it, but you know what I mean? If we go deep into the postseason, whether or not he could come back, but nonetheless, you're looking at an outcome for a lot of weeks there. With that said, we could potentially get back to a place of relative health. With that said, the communication errors to where they were pretty good in Tampa, right? Because we're able to play big nickel. We had enough personnel to bring Sidney Brown down into the box and then being able to kick, our guy back outside in James Bradberry and be able to rotate these guys, right? Bring Bradberry in when it was advantageous to the slot. And then you had Job on the outside. Like in Tampa, because of the personnel, it worked, right? We had our starting safety out there for a little while. He did get injured pretty early in that game, to be fair. But nonetheless, we could see there's a huge difference from what happened in Tampa to what happened in Washington. And the communication errors were, I'm not gonna lie, bro, they were frustrating as crap. We had a lot of communication errors that probably should not have been happening. All right, I want to try to create a bigger picture-in-picture layout here. So let me go ahead and I want to add something here, and I'll break down what we're seeing here. All right, yeah. So I'm on the bottom screen back here, guys. All right, we're starting off here in a pre-snap quarters look. This is that play he talks about early in the conversation here, to where he says he's in off coverage and he gets beat. All right. So pre-snap, we got a Zimmer feel, right? We're pressing at the top of the screen. We're off coverage on the bottom of the screen. All right. Look at all the space, right? Washington goes from empty, okay, to offset right. And then we saw that we backed out our, we're giving them a quarters look pre-snap. It's a disguise, though. All right, we're going to rock him back down into the box. All right, so Edmonds is going to come back down into the box again. He's going to come out here and cover the flat. And this is really a cover 3. This is cover 3. Up top, okay, your safety, boom, you got cover 3, all right? They're just trying to confuse a young man. The issue is going to be inside this cover 3, watch the linebacker, because we're bringing a 5-man blitz, okay? We're using the linebacker to blitz, which is going to create only a 3-man under, not a 4-man under, which creates that big vacated area. That entire middle of the field is pretty wide open once Edmonds clears to the flat. Once the linebacker's on the blitz, that's a lot of open space to work with there, right? And that's Terry McLaurin. So obviously Slay is giving him a little respect. You can see that Slay is playing off of him and with outside leverage, okay? And it's creating that huge vacated area in the middle of the field. And partially the reason this is happening is because they want to protect against those big plays over the top. And I know a lot of you are probably like, okay, what is the difference though, man? Like, yeah, it's the play's not 25 yards, but what's that, like 15, 16? Like those are, I know they may not qualify them as big plays, but it's a pretty freaking big play in my book. I hear you. They're trying to force a young guy into a mistake. I'm not agreeing with you guys. I'm explaining the philosophy behind the approach. Philosophy behind the approach is we want to give some pre-snap, post-snap movement stuff here, right? We give you a quarters look. Then we're really rotating into like a cover 3, cover 1. It looks like cover 3 to me. Okay. And then what you're doing here is that you're bringing extra pressure. You're bringing a linebacker coming through. And while that play didn't particularly work, let's be mindful that Nick Morrow did get home for 3 sacks in this game. So there was some success doing that. But the downside to this is because we have to move a player down into the flats to guard against the dump off, right? And we have a linebacker coming on the blitz because they're trying to isolate. Washington is purposely isolating Terry McLaurin on that side. And because we're playing off coverage, because we're respecting Terry McLaurin's ability to get on top of corners and get vertical and actually hurt you, it's opening up this huge vacated area to where there's just no way that we're going to make a play here to get back to the football. I'll run it one more time for you guys. That way you guys can see it. But yeah, I mean, this is part of that area to where I have a big problem with the middle. We're really playing mofo open, middle of the field open. Now you can argue when you're in cover 3, you're not actually mofo open, but because we blitz the linebacker, the under mofo, middle of the field's open. It's hecka open. All right, pre-snap quarters look, right? You can see I number them for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your quarters defenders. All right. So then you're going to go and you're going to get this Zimmer kind of feel. You can also say that, Fangio does this too. You got press at the top. You got off coverage at the bottom. All right. Now we start playing around. They go from empty into an offset formation to the right. They're still trying to isolate Terry McLaurin on the bottom of the screen. We start playing around, playing games with our safeties, trying to make him think it's quarters coverage. But obviously, right before the snap, we're going to rock him back down into the box. He's going to come down to cover this flat. They want him to see quarters, right? Because they want him to hold the ball for a split second, but he sees it completely, right? Your linebacker's blitzing in that cover 3, which is going to create that huge vacated area once you get the clearing from the safety. I saw some people in the comment sections that were very confused. They thought this was a robber technique. This is not robber to me. This is clearly just a defender rocking down into the box and them trying to show you a quarters look, which they're really converting into cover 3. And then you got your 3 under defenders. So your nickel cornerback, Morrow, and then your safety or your 3 under defenders in this look because you're blitzing one of the linebackers, which creates the huge void, guys. That's the huge void you get in the space. It sucks. It's a lot of open area. It's a gamble. And I will say that that's part of the trade-off, right? They hit you on that play, but the trade-off would be is that you start playing around with the eyes of the quarterback a little bit. You should be moving the linebacker up into that B gap, right? Rocking him up, messing with the eyes a little bit of the quarterback, and then post-snap, you drop him into coverage, hoping he doesn't see it, he doesn't read it, and now you got the play being affected because now you got inside leverage from the linebacker. You got Slay with the outside leverage and on top of him. You're hoping that he makes a mistake with the placement of the football, and maybe you can get especially a guy like Zach Cunningham who's got a big frame, 34-inch arm reach and all that. Like he's got a big frame for, zone coverages. And they do try later on. I have another example I'm going to show you. There's some stuff where they try this again later on, and it's just we're a hair off on getting these plays, to be quite honest. All right, Joe, let's get into some comments real quick, man. What's up, some Black Ninja? What's going on, man? How you doing, bro? Big Birds, what's going on, man? How you doing? Big Gates, the most cerebral assassin in football. Appreciate you, man. James, what's good, man? He says, my guy Gate, let's go Birds. James said, nobody doing it better. Keep up the great work, brother. Hey, man, I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Where did I get the Eagles flag from? I got it like on Amazon. I'm going to say it's like a 3x5 flag from Amazon. It was pretty, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 bucks at the most, guys. It really wasn't that expensive. I'll start trying to link some of this stuff, but I always forget to link that stuff for Amazon and everything because I get a lot of questions about the flag. A couple of other things I have here for Eagle stuff. I had the blanket that's always off screen, but sometimes you guys catch it. Isaiah Smith said they play soft coverage the whole game. They do and they don't. They're, like I said, like I was showing you, there's a philosophy to what they're doing with that. But I would say that in Johnny Page's defense, and I don't know if Slay's directly, referencing him, but I mean, the timing seems pretty good there. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I will say that in Johnny Page's defense, you could make an argument that you couldn't move Slay up a yard or two and maybe have a little bit more of an effect while still playing off coverage there and giving respect to McLaurin to potentially go over to the top of you. Sean said, I don't get why we don't play more man coverage. I mean, to be fair, Sean, the majority of the league doesn't play man coverage at high rates. Like, we're certainly not in the upper third. That's not where we are. We're in the middle territory of it. But, I mean, we got guys like James Bradbury. We got guys like Josh Jobe that are around that 28 to 30% marker. Slay mans up about 25% of the time. But you got to keep in mind, even when you're playing in zone system, Sean, you can still have man concepts, right? You can match and carry with guys, which is still utilizing man concepts within a zone, a zone scheme, if you will. So, I mean, there's definitely some balance here. And I don't love what Slay's justification was, Sean, on the last 2 minutes when they're in that 2-minute offense and we're just playing passively when we're only up one score. I mean, you're talking about defending it. It would change your mind or it would change your philosophy if you're defending a field goal. Man, they got 1:40 of clock to work with, dude. It's not 30 to 45 seconds. I would agree with what Slay was saying. If we were under a minute and only had one timeout, then yeah, like I get what they're trying to accomplish. You want to stop and prevent that big play. Absolutely. I thought that's a failure with understanding exactly how fast you can move the football with 1:40 seconds, even if you're not trying to get over the top of the defense. Like, I had to disagree with them a little bit there, to be quite honest. I thought that there's some nuance there, man. William, what's good, man? How you doing? Brandon said, how much of a difference will we see in coverage just by having Bradley Roby in the slot and Bradbury on the outside? Communication. I think communication will be the key there because you got 3 guys in their 30s who have played a lot of football and have pretty much played every coverage there is. I think those guys, once they get familiar and they get comfortable with what Desai exactly wants to accomplish, it's just a matter of do they have the legs at 30 years old to accomplish it? The mind will be there. Like, the mentality of it, Brennan, they'll know exactly what to do. It's just a matter of do they still have the athleticism to do it? We can't do this against Stafford. He will cut us up. We'll see, guys. We'll see. I mean, I will say this. I think people are giving Stafford flowers he doesn't deserve on the 23 season, guys. He's got 3 touchdowns against 5 interceptions. He's been mistake prone with the football. Stafford will give you opportunities. He will try to force things. Chris said playing that off coverage makes the blitz of no effect. I mean, you can make an argument that trying to tie up the receivers longer gives you that extra split second to get home. Certainly. But I mean, there is a reason, Chris, that the majority of blitz schemes, unless you're going zero, are pretty much zone blitzes. I mean, there's a reason behind that. Some Black Ninja said Stafford will attack that open early and often with Puka and Tutu. Maybe. I mean, if you're leaving the middle of the field that open, I agree, Black Ninja. If the middle of the field is that open, so where there's that much space to operate on it, sure. But I also think that was a little bit of okay, we only have, he talks about it in the thing where he gives this explanation about like a short week. He talks about, look, we had to play Monday night. Tuesday we're in film. Wednesday we're doing walkthroughs. We didn't get a full week of practice reps in there. Like, I definitely think there's something to that. But yeah, I mean, it's straightforward, guys. If he's giving you that much room to operate in a vacated area, the majority of NFL quarterbacks can take advantage of that. That was them trying to take advantage of a rookie not seeing the coverage quick enough. I don't think you're going to fool Stafford in that sense. But I do think Stafford will try to make foolish plays with the ball. He'll try to force things in there because he believes in his arm strength, and you'll get opportunities. I mean, the one thing I'll say about Stafford is that just like the kid did, to be fair, this young man gave them opportunities. Edmonds dropped a touchdown, an interception in the end zone that eventually led to the next play being a touchdown. So, I mean, we had opportunities to get off the field and prevent points, and we didn't seize upon them, to be fair. Can't forget about Tutu. He will be a factor. Tutu's fast, but the way that we play our coverages, I mean, I'm more scared about Tutu running those like under kind of crossers and stuff like that. If he's getting over the top of us, then there's wildly inconsistent like communication errors with the way that we play our coverages. Some Black Ninja, like that would be bad, like really, really bad. Roby will help with the communication. The vet in him will come out. That's what I think is going to happen too. Sean said, "Appreciate you, brother." Ain't no problem, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. What's our biggest weakness? The slot corner or the musical chairs we're playing with the secondary or the second safety? I think the slot corner is a bigger issue, to be fair. But it's all compounding, Brennan. It's a compounding problem here. I mean, we have a lot of guys coming in and out of the lineup. You had a guy who was not familiar with working through traffic. I'm going to show you an example, and it's not necessarily on Bradbury, but I'm going to show you an example of like why it's tough with these open, vacated areas when you're trying to protect the outside, because that's what they're doing, guys. Make no mistake about it. They're trying to play coverage to the outside and prevent deep shots. But they were doing things from stacked releases and through motion to make you have to work through traffic. And they got to find something, man. Like, you got to have really, really good communication between your safety, your nickel corner, and whoever that outside corner is off the stack sets. Like, there was the one play that he didn't bring up, Slay. I should have went in there and found it, guys. But you'll recall this. There was a play where they ran a stack set. It was a 3x set to the bottom of the screen. Or it was the top of the screen on the TV, actually. And they were in a 3x set up there. And they stacked them. And they had a free release to the outside to where Slay wasn't like within 5 yards of the guy. He just had an easy catch and run out of bounds for a first down. And it was like, yeah, that's communication error. Like, this should not be happening. We need to, like, the stack set thing, man. If I was a team, I would keep using motion and stack sets against the Eagles until they prove that they have worked out the communication errors. I mean, personally, that's what I would do if I was on the opposing side. I would force you to show me that you can work through traffic, that you can communicate, you can do those things, because I don't think that we've demonstrated that yet. We can't sleep on Tutu and Puka. If they had pass off the wide receiver, it wouldn't give the linebacker that split second more. He needs to get the sack. I mean, he's coming from depth, though, Chris. It's pretty tough to get there in the time frame they did it. I just don't think there was enough to hold the eyes there, to be fair. And you have to understand the coverage call there. You don't pass off in a cover 3 like that. Like, that's not how that coverage is designed. You would have to be in a different coverage. So they would need to be in something like maybe a cover 6 or a cover 8 where you're playing like quarter, half or something like that, to where you could easily switch and trap, right? You could run something from like, say you did a cover 1 concept instead of a cover 3. And then you try to run like a robber across the middle of the field off cover 1. That's the kind of stuff you'd look for. You would think that they would adjust to, Chris, in the future against these type of looks, outside of just, basically bringing him up on the line of scrimmage, the linebacker, making the quarterback account for him in the protection call, but then dropping right back into that window. You got to get him inside the throwing window, because that causes, at worst, that causes him to have to hold the ball for a split second for it to clear. And that might get your defensive line home. That might cause a pressure to where maybe he makes a mistake with the placement of the ball because of the pressure from the defensive line. Now you got a slightly off, throw, maybe walk away with a turnover. Like, it's things like that. Like that. I don't think they're mixing that stuff up enough with it. Like, there's a balance to these things. What's up, Dante? How you doing, man? Sorry, guys. Every time I go to click, it's jumping a little bit on me. This is a Nick Sirianni problem. We had these same issues last year, but we blame Gannon. Some of it is Gannon. Some of it is Desai, man. But yes, the overarching theme is that Nick is the one who believes in this concept and this idea of the big play rate. But by the way, you can't just say it's Nick. This is organizational. This is the analytics department and Howie Roseman in the front office, down to the head coach, down to the defensive coordinator. The head coach and the defensive coordinator would not have their jobs if they had a difference of opinion about the philosophy there, to be fair. Some Black Ninja said, I think Goddard is our sleeper, so to say, to wake up and kill it this week. I hope so, man, because he's a good player, but we just, I thought early on, like week 1 and week 2, I thought we just kind of missed some opportunities to actually hit him on plays. And then I thought that, to be fair, he got called out by Clay Harbor. He got called out by Greg Cosell about not running his routes to completion. And there were times where he could have probably found himself to be a target if he had run those plays. But I think that's also a balance. I mean, that's coaching points. Like you got to get these guys in the film room. You got to show them it. You got to make sure Goddard's aware. Like, man, you got to keep giving the effort, even if you're not getting the ball yet. What's up, iShine? Would you say our linebackers play is better the last 2 games than last year? That's a tough one. I mean, yes and no. I mean, part of this is the defensive front. Your front makes it. I said this during the offseason, and people didn't get what I was saying when everyone was freaking out about the linebacker spot. And I said, in this system, it's not linebacker based. This is all defensive line based. This is all interior D line. If your interior D line does its job and you got read and react linebackers, you're going to do really well. There's a reason why Zach Cunningham is so freaking good in run defense, right? He's a read and react guy. He goes and gets it, right? There's a reason why Nicholas Morrow, with that athleticism, and same thing we said for Nakobe Dean in the first game, why they were so good against the run, why they were so good in certain situations like that. And it has a lot to do with the fact that the interior defensive line is allowing these guys to play freely. Now, in terms of some subtleties, there was the one touchdown play to where you could clearly see that Zach Cunningham doesn't understand the concept of what's happening there. He's supposed to kick outside with the motion. He doesn't do that. There's an easy lane right into the touchdown off of like a little end around. There's some things like that that's still going on. I still think there's some difficulty in coverage. There's a play I'm going to show you here in a second to where Zach Cunningham has an opportunity. He does not achieve that said opportunity because he can't get to the spot. He can't get to the window quick enough. And once again, there's a vacated area across the middle of the field to throw into. And it just makes for very easy pitch and catch stuff, man. Hot take here. I think Brian Johnson is going to be okay moving forward. I had questions about Shane. Now Desai, I don't know. It just looks bad. I hate off coverage. I told you guys when I broke him down, Dante, that I think he plays his coverages tighter than Gannon on average in terms of the cushion. But I told you, I found it on his film. I told you guys when I broke down the Chicago film, I said in that video, you guys aren't going to like what I'm telling you, but I saw moments to where there was some passive zone in there. And then everyone wanted to come at me, not you, Dante, but you saw people want to come at me in the comments. And I'm like, I'm just telling you what the film says. You get mad at me if you want. I'm just literally relaying what the film is showing about the guy. What do you think the Eagles' chances are going undefeated until the bye? 50-50. I'm going to say it's tough to go undefeated against the back end of the schedule. And, our bye week, I think we have to play Dallas and then we get the bye. I'm going to say it's still 50-50 because I still think that we're going to be the best team on the schedule, up until the bye week. I think after the bye week is when you start running into some territory. You know what I mean? Like you can make a case that Miami's going to be a pain in what. I think this game against the Rams, I think this is going to be a pain in what, right? I think that first Dallas game is going to be a pain in a what. Like it is. But I do feel like we're still the better teams there. I get more concerned when Patrick Mahomes, who's also, the Chiefs offense is having its own problems, right? If Patrick Mahomes ends up figuring it out before, he plays us, like, it's like, man, like, can he figure it out 1 week after us? Like that's going to be a situation, I think the Bills from a talent perspective are pretty talented. I'm curious to see what happens in the secondary though. They're taking hits in their secondary as well. Tre'Davious White, I think, just went out for, it's either the season or it's a pretty lengthy, piece of time. So that's going to be an interesting one. But I definitely think the second half following the bye week, I do think we face a little bit more stiffer competition. I would beat, but James, I'll say this. I think that second time around when we play Washington, I don't think that game's going to be close, man. I think they're going to get thoroughly beat. My problem is, what's up, iShiny says, my problem is why aren't both cornerbacks slot included, not even showing disguises before the ball is snapped? They like to it's schematic. Eye shine. It's schematic with the safeties. That's why when I pulled it up, I said it gives me Mike Zimmer vibes. And like, don't get me wrong, Desai is still more so based in the Vic Fangio scheme. But when you're going quarters to cover 3 with the pre and post snap, the rocking of the safeties, the playing up on the top on the boundary, playing off on the field side, like it definitely gives me some Mike Zimmer vibes to it. I'm not saying that that's not found on Vic Fangio's scheme too. It is. But I'll say the difference I see with Vic is Vic normally likes to give you a quarters look, and then he rotates from a quarters into like cover 6, cover 8 with some cover 3. I think Desai has been a little bit heavier in that cover 3 from the quarters look than what I thought he would be. Like in the Super Bowl, for example, I thought they went from quarters to cover 6 and cover 8 a lot. I definitely could see, and I know they say like, oh, well, Vic Fangio wasn't there to help the defense. I don't know, man. That game plan, when you look at it, it was very Vic Fangio-ish. Like, it definitely seemed a little truer to the Fangio system. There was always an adaptation with Gannon, but it was never 100% Fangio style. That Super Bowl performance and that Super Bowl coverage was very Vic Fangio-esque. We have not allowed a sack from Aaron Donald ever. I think our offense will be explosive and click this against them. I hope so. Some Black Ninja, I really hope that that's true, because I think we're going to need it, man. I think we're going to need that another 30-point output here. And I think the secondary is going to have lapses at times, but we got to hope that those lapses happen early in the game and we start to settle down. We start getting, enough pieces back in our secondary to kind of ride this storm and be able to shut things down. What's up, Chris? He says, this is my first live stream. I won't miss the next one. Keep up the great work, bro. Hey, Chris, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you. Brennan said, with Jordan Davis emerging as a pass rusher, the play of Jalen Carter and Milton Williams in his 3rd year, do you think we are better overall at defensive tackle and on the defensive line as a whole? I do. I do think we're better, Brennan, but I don't want to throw shade at what we had last year in the second half. Because, man, that 6-man rotation we had going late in the season, where we had like Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat coming off the edges, man. Brandon Graham had a career year. You know what I mean? Like we had pieces, man. The interior defensive line with like Fletch and Sue. Then you had the combination of Jordan Davis and what's the other big man's name we had? Signed former Giant player. I can't think of his name. Played with the Vikings for a little while too, I think. The big guy there. And then, I think we had a solid rotation. Hargrave with Milton. This version, though, Brennan, it's different. I think we have a true impact player. And we had really good players, last year. I think Jalen Carter is a true impact player. Like, this is going to be a guy for the next 10 years is going to be a headache for the NFL, especially for offensive coordinators. What players are going under the radar is standing out the most so far? It's Milton. Milton's always good, man. It's so hard because like the lack of availability in snaps. But I'll give you a surprise name that I didn't expect to play as well as I've seen on film, Dante. And that's Tui. Tui Pelotu has been better than I thought. He's not Milton, though. Milton's still the better player. It's not even close. He's not Jalen Carter. That's really not close. He's definitely not Jordan Davis. And he's not Fletch. He's not quite in that group of dudes. But as kind of like the 5th guy, 6th guy, he's more of the 5th guy. He's been pretty dang good, man. Like I think he's a guy that surprisingly in the run game, a lot better than what we saw last year. I thought he had flashes in the run game last year. I think we've seen some pretty solid consistency out of him this year. It's only 4 games though, Dante. So I want to be careful, because we might not be thinking that come week 12. But right now, through 4 games, I'm pretty impressed with that young man. Well explained, Gid. I appreciate you, Aisha. Dante said, can we get a deep dive video explaining Gannon, Jim, and Desai? Could be fun. Yeah, the defensive coordinators. Yeah, we can take a look at that. So let me write down like a D coordinator overview. Yeah, I can do that. Sorry, let me write down so that way I got something to reference again. I think the reason why Jalen isn't looking like Jalen of last year is because he is being told this and that now that he has a new contract. Let Jalen be Jalen and do Jalen things. Linville Joseph, thank you. Thank you, Brennan. I couldn't think of his name for a minute. I definitely think he's being told to avoid contact when that's, when when feasible. And I think that's a smart thing to tell him. Like, I know that people are like, yeah, we could be getting an extra 3-4 yards off of these handoffs, but I don't think it's worth putting him at risk for that. I think when the games matter, I think when he has to turn it on, we've had 2 separate third down conversions off of runs where Jalen's gone through contact to go get it at the sideline. We had to play last Sunday to where he ducked, slid up into the pocket, ran out, then absolutely broke the dude's ankles in the open field. I think when we've needed it, it's been there. And I do think generally it's smart to try to – I think it's an analytics thing, some Black Ninja. I think Howie's got guys up there that are studying runs on average per season, looking at quarterback hits and then seeing the trends in terms of injuries and games missed. So I do think there's something there. I think offensively, there are some very minor differences between Brian Johnson's system and from what we had last season in terms of the play calling. And I think that some of that has to do with like just a comfort. It's a comfort level. Once they, Brian Johnson's, input, mind you, it's still Nick's system, but once Brian Johnson's input to that system is, even with Jalen Hurts, I think, like we saw last week where the passes picked up, we still got a lot of meat on the bone now. I think you're going to start seeing that to where like he's just going off on teams, especially with the way they're trying to play the run right now. Because I definitely think you're going to see a wave of teams now who are going to start trying to bring down they're going to try to get +1 on us on the run game. I think there's a group of teams coming up. They're going to go, we'll take our chances getting physical on the outside, but we just can't allow this run game to put up 200+ yards on us. Yeah, Linville. Yeah, exactly what I was thinking of. Chase Claypool to the Dolphins for a 7th. Really, they couldn't wait until afterwards. I mean, Chase hasn't really affected anything, but he's going to have opportunities there, man, because they can spread you out. Oh, 6th. Do you think the 34 this season would be a better defensive front for the Eagles given our lackluster linebacker play? I mean, they're variable. They vary, James, in their fronts. But we do see a lot more 4-man fronts. We definitely see more 4-man fronts this year. Like even on first down, they're running a lot of 4-man fronts, James, this season. They're not as heavy in the 50 fronts as the season prior. They still use them. Still a big part of what we do, but it's not as heavy as it was just the season prior. But I mean, if you do that and you're playing nickel base 3-3-5, I guess it depends on how you want to quote that third linebacker, James. Like if you're going to say like the Sam is that third linebacker, I mean, you're already kind of doing that. I mean, they play a lot of 4-2-5 as well, to where they'll put those guys down and then they'll have both linebackers on the field. I'm excited when Nakobe Dean gets back just because I think you're going to have proper depth at the linebacker spot. And I think that's a little bit of an issue. Like, right now, if someone were to go down before Nakobe got back, it would be a bit of a challenge. There's no doubt about that. I get it that you want to limit some of the things Jalen did last year, but this is too many limitations, it seems like. I don't think so, man. They're 4-0. I mean, just because Jalen's not getting the yardage on the ground doesn't mean it's not affecting the plays, man. Like they're keeping a quarterback spy on him. This is partially due to the way that teams are playing him. So the way that they've adjusted to Jalen Hurts inside of the zone option stuff here is that they're crashing a defensive end down on the running back and they're playing a spy on Jalen from the linebacker position, which when that defensive end can't crash down or the end man on the line of scrimmage, it doesn't always have to be a defensive end. It's just really the end man on the line of scrimmage. When the end man on the line of scrimmage cannot get there and cannot crash down, and we're just cutting through teams on those inside zones, it's 200+ yards. I mean, that's all because teams have to pay this focus to Jalen Hurts, man. Like it's being done in a different way. He's still having the same effect on the game. I don't know if you answered this, but what are your thoughts on Josh Jobe overall? He's a young player, Dante. I'm not ready to give up on him as a player. But, I mean, I think his youth showed, right? I mean, I think he challenges the football, but I don't think that his leverage, I don't think that where he's playing necessarily is quite right yet. I think there's still some growth that needs to occur there. The frustrating part is, Dante, is that I don't know that happens in season without more reps. I think if you pull back and you scale back the reps too far, then you're not going to grow the player. But I also think that there was a clear difference to when they were using Sidney Brown in the slot, kind of playing that big nickel like type look. And then they would kick Bradbury back outside. And then when they would want to match up with Bradbury, Then they brought Job in. I thought it was more effective. So I do think that there is some justification to say, like, we got to scale back. You know, there's when you're talking about developing players, there's like a fine line. You know what I mean, Dante? Like between not giving a guy enough reps to actually grow and learn, and then giving a guy so many reps that like he's just being beat. Like, you know, you're beating a dude into mercy. You're beating a dead horse. Like, so I mean, there's that fine line you have to walk there. And then, I mean, truth be told, like, he's going to have to do some work in the offseason. He's going to have to get in there with private coach. He's going to have to do some work. But I mean, like, I would give him like a C. You know, I mean, it's an undrafted, you know, free agent coming in here. And, you know, I think he's played okay. I mean, you know, I mean, last year he really didn't get involved in many games. Didn't really have that many snaps. So it shows that there was some development over the course of last year to this year. The fact that, I mean, they played him a little bit over these last 2 games. They really leaned into him, to be honest. But they went after him. Offenses kind of circled him a little bit. Now I will say it's not as bad as people are saying. I think he gave out 3 catches for, was it 39 yards last week, guys? I want to say. Let me look that up real quick because I don't want to accuse somebody of giving up stuff they didn't give up. I hate when that happens. So let me actually take a look here. But I think it was like 3 for 39 is what he gave up in the game, which, you know, obviously that's not great. I mean, but at the same time, like, that's not detrimental to like killing the team. I still think that the communication issues were a bigger problem than any individual player's issue. To me, you know, I think it was more so along that. Let me see, targeted. So in Washington, he was targeted 6 times, gave up 3 catches for 35 yards. So you have 50% completion rate. It's not bad. I mean, to be fair, that's not bad. But yeah, I mean, I still think that we're certainly better when we limit the snaps a little bit of Josh Jobe. And then we have that ability to bring Sidney Brown or, you know, Bradley Roby now down into the slot, be able to play matchup ball between Roby, Sidney Brown, James Bradbury in the slot versus certain looks, and then have Jobe kind of kick in the outside when you do that with Bradbury. I still think that's the most effective way going forward. Sorry, that was a really roundabout answer, Dante, but hopefully I got to the answer for you. Do you think Blankenship is better than Epps last year? If so, the only concern I have is the second safety. People forget Maddox was hurt a lot last year and was hampered in the playoffs by turf toe. Yeah, I definitely think Blankenship. It's tough to grade that, though, to be fair, Brendan, because Blankenship is more of a post safety. I know the Eagles don't define it this way. They don't look at it as like, oh, we have a post safety, we have a box safety. The film shows otherwise. They have a post safety and a box safety, to be fair. The film shows otherwise. They just don't call it that. But Blank plays a lot of post to where Epps played more so the box. But to be fair, Epps was singled up more often on guys like Travis Kelce and those type of players, right? I mean, he was a little bit more singled up in the coverages, to be fair about it. But I definitely think Blank is a better player, though, if I'm being honest. And I don't hate Epps. I think Epps, you know, had limitations in coverage. He was athletically gifted as crap, but I don't think his technique was the greatest in the world. But, I mean, I certainly think we could have done worse than Epps. Do you think we will see Eli Ricks on the field soon? Yeah, he's on. What's up, Jose? He's only got 1 rep so far that I saw in game, and I think it was a nickel snap. So, I mean, with Bradley Roby coming in, it might be more towards the end of the season. That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I really don't know. It's probably going to depend upon the way things shape out between, you know, this Sidney Brown coming back, with Bradley Roby getting worked in as a veteran guy, with, you know, Bradbury and Job's dynamic on the outside to keeping healthy. You know, Slay and Bradbury keeping themselves above 30, staying healthy. Same could be said for Roby as well. I don't want to say one way or the other because an injury changes the outlook of everything. You know what I mean? A significant one, another one outside of just the Maddox one. So, but I think ideally it would be limited until the end of the season. Chris said these injuries are hurting us bad, but I think our defense will be fine. I just want to see the quarterback come up 2 to 3 more yards in the soft coverage look. Yeah, I think that was the point. Like, I'm not trying to come at Slay. I'm not trying to come at Johnny on Twitter. I like both guys. You know, Slay, I think, is a really good player. I think Johnny does a great job on Twitter. And I think it's tough when you're putting up 6, 7, 8 clips at a time. Like, you know, I think sometimes people read into things that you're not saying per se. Like, all he's saying is like, hey, man, there was a lot of coverages to where we were, Slay in particular was kind of playing off. Now, I would say it's schematic. That's schematic, to be fair. And but I also think that you can make the argument from Johnny's perspective of like we can't walk that up a yard, yard and a half. We can't be 5.5 to 6 yards instead of 7. You know what I mean? Like I do think there's some finer details of this stuff that can be argued. Some Black Ninja said Philly Mike wants to get you on Goat Talk on Saturday. Y'all three kill it when you jump on. Mike's got my number, man. I've known Mike forever. I'll hit him up, man. Yeah, I'll go on Saturday if they need me to. No problem. I mean, LB and Mike both have my number. I know them both. Like Mike and I have known each other since we started our channels. Like Mike knew me before I even had 100 subscribers. I knew Mike before he hit 200 subscribers. I remember helping Mike pick out his laptop when he first went upgraded. One Above All said, "Hey Gates, good morning. What's up, One Above All? How you doing, man?" Dante said, "I like Josh Joe, but it was weird when you look at the snap count. We only use 3 corners. Want to see more of the young boys play, Eli and Ringo." I think Ringo's going to be good with time, but time is his best friend right now, Dante. I don't know if he's ready to step on the field right this second. He's a really freaking good special teams player. I think Ringo got a little under talked about in his special teams prowess coming out of camp, coming out of the preseason, right? And I'm blaming that on me. I'm the one who did all the breakdowns on the special teams. I'm the guy that does those weird, strange breakdowns like that, to where I'll go deep dive on like who's the gunner and who's on the coverage teams. Like I'm the fool that'll do that. That's on me for probably not making a bigger deal about what we saw out of Ringo. But he's been good, man. He's been pretty dang good. Leave a like. Appreciate you, Dante. Ian, what's good, buddy? He says, have you heard anything as to where Kelee Ringo is being cross-trained, wishing they would work him in the safety role at some point? I haven't heard anything about him being cross-trained at safety, but to be fair, Ian, they close off practice during the season past the warm-up drills. Not that I'm there to even see that. So even the media guys get closed out at a certain point. Now, they get to still see stuff. They just can't film it. So sometimes you hear some things get leaked. But I haven't heard that yet. My guy Eric says, yes, I'm in the building, my guy. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, Eric. Let's talk about the running back. Why haven't we used Penny in short yardage and goal line situations? Even going past Penny, why haven't we use Boston Scott outside the concussion from last? Obviously he had a concussion, but I mean, if you want to talk about the role of 2-minute offense, if you want to talk about the role of red zone, which is Kenny Gainwell's role right now, and I don't think Gainwell's terrible, but I do think Boston Scott has been better. He's better in pass pro than Kenny Gainwell. I think he's maybe not as good a receiving back as Gainwell, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's pretty dang good in those short yardage. I mean, yeah, he might only be like 205 or so, 200 to like 206 on an area. He's also like 5'6". I mean, he's a little bowling ball. Like, I definitely think that you can make some arguments around the entirety of the roster. I think to answer your question directly, some Black Ninja, like why that is, I think they see him as the break in case of emergency back. He's the kind of guy, if there's a long-term injury, then he factors into the rotation and may even become the main feature guy, depending on how they view it. I think it's how they view him. What's up, Antonio? Says, just been listening this morning, but I am here. Great job. As usual, do you remember our 4-hour shows, Gates? You, Fresh Mike, those were the days. Oh, my gosh, man. The COVID Battlebirds podcast, man, we had 5-6 hour episodes, man. Those things were marathons. It was so bad we would have to bring you guys on because I would start losing my voice. Like, yeah, those were fun, man. I wouldn't mind doing those once in a great while. Once in a great while, bringing back the old Battlebirds format and doing those long marathons. Like, it was fun when we'd have everybody come on and we'd shoot the link out, everybody would come on and we would talk. Brennan said, when we get Sidney Brown and Justin Evans back, man for man, do you think this defense can be more balanced from last year, or will the issues with communication and coaching hold them back this year? Brennan, that's a very good question. I'm not too sure I have the answer to that, Brennan, to be fair. I do think that just overall getting back players like Justin Evans and Sidney Brown is going to help improve the defense. I think getting a veteran guy, even if Bradley Roby's not what we think him to be, just having a veteran presence in the secondary that can potentially kick inside, I think still helps you. I mean, maybe he's not the player we all think, but it's still better than some of the alternatives. You know what I mean? So I just think those personnel things in general are going to help no matter what. Are we going to go from like, did I even read the numbers to you guys? Let me read the numbers to you guys. All right. Y'all ready for this? 260.8 yards per game, which ranks 27th. 1,000 guys. 1,043 yards, which is 26th in the league in terms of total yards through the passing game. 67.1%. 67, my bad, guys. 0.1%. Completion rate, which is 19th. 9 touchdowns, which is 29. 2 interceptions. I didn't do the exact number there because everyone's kind of clumped up, but it's bottom third of the league. I don't think it's going to get much worse than that. You know what I mean, Brendan? Like, it ain't getting much worse than that. So I think there's only up to go from there. I think it's got to get to the point, though, to where you have the right solutions in-house because we're better than what we've played. To be fair, we are a better football team than what we have thrown out there so far, but injuries mixed in with new scheme, and mind you, it's not like Desai and Gannon scheme are miles apart, but there's still some differences. Those things are compounding on us. They're causing a compounding problem right now. No doubt about it. Dante said, I've been an optimist about this cornerback room. For me, it's growing pains. I like that out. I like that outlook, Dante. And I think technically that's got to do with it too. I still think this is a top 16 at least. I think we're a top 20, the top 16-ish at least. Even if we do lack some talent in some areas and it needs to be upgraded over the next year or so, I still think we should be in that area when we're accounted for and somewhat healthy. Jazz said Scott is your second best back. I kind of agree with that, Jazz. I don't know why they don't play I don't know why they don't play him more. I don't remember Scott ever dropping a pass. Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, he's probably not the biggest vertical threat in terms of a running back. You know, those crazy Miles Sanders years where he was catching like 50-yard passes. Probably not going to get that out of him, Antonio, but he's reliable. I mean, he's got good hands. He can definitely do an angle route. He can run out to the flats. He can do those things. Like, he's more than capable of doing this. Laugh out loud. What's up, Kenneth? How you doing, man? He said, yo, Gate, did you notice the center for Washington? Every time he snapped the ball on a passing play, he would look left and straight ahead and then snap the ball. If not, check it out. I'm going to definitely go look at that. I didn't really – Jalen had said something to me about the head placement and the movement, but I was looking at it from our perspective on the offensive line. But, yeah, I mean, if he's sneaking looks to see where Jordan Davis and to see where, you know, these guys are in terms of, like, you know, the phenom Jalen Carter, if he's sneaking looks, if the league is doing that, whoo, man. Yeah. Eric said, I wish Nick would get out of his analytics. I like the wordplay there, man. And allowed Desai full reign over the defense. That's kind of why I was praying for Seth Joyner to somehow be brought in as a consultant to address flaws. Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder what's going on unofficially, Eric, in terms of the not that, but like the consultation thing, because you know when we talked about that earlier in the offseason, Eric, when we were all kind of talking, and people were asking about like how consultation works. I'm like, well, you have paid consultants, and then you have like this weird thing around the league where I don't know the legality of it, to where you just have friends and you're just calling them, and it's just casual conversation where you're clearly being consulted. It's clearly consultation that you're receiving. So I don't know. Yeah, I wonder. I do wonder, like, who does Desai call? Who does Desai talk to? You know what I mean? Like, I do wonder that. What is his inner network? Scott is Darren Sproles 2.0, but we don't use them. Gates, what's your game plan for Puka and Kyron Williams on offense and Donald on defense? I think you have to lean towards, you're going to have to lean towards a little bit with Donald. Aaron Donald's going to have to be accounted for in the pass game. In the run game, you're already going to kind of be accounting for that, so I'm not as concerned there. Donald's just a good player. You know, he can be disruptive there. I will say that this is what I'm scared some Black Ninja, because some of y'all have been following me for a while, and some of y'all know that I was really intrigued. I'm using my words carefully. Guys. I was really, really intrigued by Suapeta. And athletically speaking, this guy is very, very gifted. He is freaking strong. This guy is freakishly strong. Suapeta is. Great athlete. was really, really low in terms of like the understanding the X's and O standpoint of things, understanding the leverages, understanding those things, right? He had a lot to work with. I mean, he came out of a very small school. I think that if you can get this guy's knowledge to catch up to what his athletic ability would be, Sue is a very intriguing guy. And I'm using my words carefully because, God, if he gets absolutely destroyed in this game, I know you guys are going to be like, Gate, I know you like this dude. We need a better solution at the backup spot. It's been like 5 years, right? So he's been here for a while. He's been here for a little while. I don't know if it's been exactly 5 years, but he's been here for a while. I really think the underlying athleticism is very intriguing with this guy, but it's Aaron Donald, man. That one scares me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Puka's an interesting guy because he's not particularly fast, but he's smart as crap. I'm more so concerned if they get Cooper Kupp back and Cooper Kupp doesn't have any limitations. That could be pretty difficult, man. Those two guys are not necessarily like burners, but they're smart and nuanced route runners. And that one, it concerns me a little bit with communication errors. If I were McVay, I would be using a lot of motion in this game, and I would be using a lot of stack sets. I would make the Eagles communicate and prove that they can do it. Absolutely. So if you're asking me like the game plan, we need to communicate. We cannot be out here looking stupid, passing off the coverage incorrectly, leaving dudes without anyone in sight for 5 yards. That can't happen, man. I can't come on here trying to be balanced. Like, hey, man, at the end of the day, yes, I can analyze the game, but I'm still a fan. There's still emotion. There's a reason I don't like doing the live streams during the games, guys. I might consider doing it. I know a few of you guys have hit me up and like, dude, can you please? I'm different when I'm watching the games, guys. I get the intel from my experience playing and coaching, later on when I can see the 22. When I'm in game, I'm just a fan. I'm the same as you. I'm ticked. I get angry. Like, I say things in the moment where I'm angry, like just like everybody else does. Like, I'm hoping that we passed off coverage way better than we did. I'm really hopeful that Sidney Brown, the addition of Bradley Roby, if he plays this week, getting back, Evans in the, the safety spot. I'm hoping that gives us a little bit more in terms of the coverage. Heard those mandates are even above Nick this week. Yeah, same thing I'm hearing, Jazz, that it's an analytics thing coming out of the front office. It's the same thing I heard, Jazz. Do you think we go Boston Scott or Quez or Devin Allen on returns? Interesting question. That's interesting. I hope it's not Quez. I don't think that's Quez's strong suit. I don't. Devin Allen's not really a punt returner. He's a kick returner. I'd be shocked if they did that, but I'd be interested to see if he can break a tackle and what he would do to a special teams coverage unit if he broke a tackle because he's fast. Boston does have some experience. If I had to take, Quez coming back, they might put Oz back there, to be honest. They might use Oz back there. Oz has got some experience doing it. Boston's got some experience doing it. I'm going to say probably Boston or Oz. They could use Quez. Quez has done it before, but I don't think he's particularly good at it. Yeah, Covey's going to have a hard time getting cleared from concussion protocol. That's a good point, Ian. I didn't really bring that up, but he's going to have some trouble getting cleared. Get the likes up for my boy. Appreciate you, Eagles realist. How should we cover Cooper Kupp? I think you got to see where his health is. I like Sidney Brown on that matchup, even though that you got a nuanced, route runner and Cooper Kupp. We don't know if he's going to be 100% back from that injury. Sidney Brown is a very athletically gifted guy. He's going to make some mistakes in coverage, and there's no doubt about it. But I think his athleticism could be a little bit of a problem for them, and I think you can bracket. I think you can bracket to help him out here and there. You know what I mean? I think you got to be very – and I'm talking about if he's playing down inside the slot. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't put Sidney Brown on the outside. If he's if they start moving Kupp to the outside, I would just run our regular coverages. But I'm curious. I mean, if you're the Eagles, do you maybe, Slay talked about Slay and his things that I didn't carry last week. I don't think this is the matchup for Slay to carry, but you could go that route. I think this might be a good matchup actually for Bradbury to carry if they have Kupp in the game. I think Bradbury's the more nuanced guy when it comes to defending routes. I think Bradbury's already, he didn't do great in the slot, but he at least has some experience this season having to kick down in there. And Bradbury, the weird thing is Bradbury's not that guy. He doesn't normally carry. But I just think that because it's Cup, the length, the physicality, the technicality of the way he runs his routes, I think Bradbury is the better matchup than Slay, but you could use either guy. You could use either of those dudes and you could carry Cup. And then you just worry about how you're going to structure your coverages for Tutu and how you're going to cover, you're going to structure your coverages for Puka in that game. That's a great name for a receiver, by the way. Kenneth said, when we play them again in a few weeks, JC, JD, and Fletch should take advantage of that center doing that. Yeah. I got a feeling that second game is it's going to be bad for Washington, I think. Yeah, I know they go over film a lot with the we got to be 1% better theme. Yet the defense seems to have the same glaring issues for years that the Chiefs exposed in the biggest game in one half. Yeah, and Bieniemy went right back at him again last week with it. I mean, Eric, if I was another team, until the Eagles show me that they can communicate, I would stack and use motion all day on them. Until they, the way the Eagles should really and honestly force teams to show they can stop the run. I think teams offensively, when they're playing our defense, should show that we can make us show we can communicate on the back end. I would go after the Eagles that way. Dank said, is the Fangio scheme being figured out? I mean, to an extent it is, Dank. I mean, it runs in cycles, and the longer these guys are out there, the more opportunities they have to kind of find it and figure it out. You know what I mean? To be fair, Dank. So, yeah, I think so, man. I think to an extent it is. What's up, William? How you doing, man? Caval, what's good, man? He says, I can't be around my girlfriend when I watch these games. Yeah, it's tough, man. Like, I literally had to sit out a couple of days this week because I ended up tweaking my what is it called, the sciatic nerve in my back from one of the plays because I jumped up and was out of frustration. I was mad. And my idiot self, bro, my back didn't come with me. Yeah, it put me out of commission for a couple of days this week. Brendan said, what do you think of Cam Jurgens in comparison to Isaac Seumalo? He's been better than I thought he would be, Brendan. I still think Isaac was a little bit more of a crafty, skilled veteran dude. Cam's a better athlete than Isaac was, and I think Cam's been pretty good, but I hate that he got injured, man. I thought he was showing some stuff, man. I thought he was getting better. I think he's pretty good in the run game. He misses his spot sometimes. I will say sometimes he doesn't do the greatest job. He works to the second level with great success, but I think initiating and then kind of like continuing at the second level, he's got to get a little better there. But I thought for a rookie, or not really rookie, he's in the second year, but you get what I mean. For an inexperienced guy, I think he's done pretty well. Dank said, I watched the Super Bowl with my family and they thought I was crazy. Are we kidding ourselves about Dallas Goedert? When I see Kelsey and Kittle, it looks and feels like a step down, not the same level. I don't know. It's hard to say, man. I don't want to judge it off of 1 year. You know what I'm saying, Dante? But they got some things to figure out with Dallas Goedert right now. He needs to be implemented back into the offense. He's entirely too talented, you know what I mean, for him to just disappear from the offense. Kelsey and Kittle are their team's best option. Yeah, I agree with that part too. Yeah, that's true. Goddard is the third option. I'd keep Oz and put Quez and Boston on punt return duty. Goddard's not being targeted enough. They tried to get it to him a couple games ago to where they were trying to use that tunnel screen action to get him involved early. I thought they should have done a little bit tighter to formation, just dumped off a tight end screen, pull backside with your offensive line and try that out. I thought they should have done more of that. But to be fair, when they did that last season against Washington, that was the play that Goddard got the face mask and got injured on. So I don't know if that stuff played into maybe some of the thought processes and decisions with that, if you will. Desai has Matt Patricia in-house. Yeah. That's true, Davis Boy. That is true. But I'm referring to like the guys we don't know. Like who's the confidants that he just talks to on the phone that are on payroll for the Eagles, basically. You know what I mean? I don't know his inner circle like that. Goddard has been missed wide open more than any other player Squeaky wheel theory. Maybe he should chew out Johnson on the sideline as well. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really break down what happened with him past the first couple of weeks, but I know Greg Cosell went after him a little bit for his performance the last couple of weeks, saying that he was kind of giving up on plays before he should have, and that might be affecting his target share. With that said, I think Johnson has to do a better job, and I think Johnson needs to sit down and figure out how to exploit defenses. You know, if they're packing into the box to stop the run, if they're putting, brackets on the outside to try to take away the outside shot, like, you got to find a way of getting the ball into Goddard. I mean, Goddard running free in the middle of the field is a problem in its own right. You know what I mean? They got to come up and tackle that guy. Smash the likes. Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you, William. So, Jazz, I totally agree. Is Hightower still in the NFL? I remember that used to be one of your guys, Gate. I like your breakdown on him. Yeah, I think he was with the Chargers. I think someone from the Chargers had commented on one of my videos and was asking me about, like, what he is as a player. It's a shame. There was talent there, Eric, but it certainly didn't turn out the way we wanted to. Oh, my bad, William. William with the $10 super chat. My bad, man. I should have got down to that faster. Keep on bringing this great content, bro. Thank you, William. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, Puka demands some kind of shell coverage. What I did there. But Dallas just doesn't seem special like Swift on those guys. Yeah, I mean, Dallas is part of the run game, though. And Dallas Goedert is he's a really good blocking tight end, to be fair, with that big playability as a tight end, but it hasn't been there this season, Dante. It hasn't been there this season. Like, there's definitely something lacking, but we've missed opportunities to get him the ball too. So, I mean, I think they got to find a way of getting him there. Like, sometimes you just got to get a guy into a rhythm, right? Get him a couple, plays across the middle of the field, kind of get him in a rhythm, get that feel if he's ready to cook somebody. I mean, if you got a mismatch, like, I love what they did. I can't remember if it was Gainwell or Swift last week where they went empty back set. Jalen saw that they took a linebacker out there and they were like, oh, that's a major mismatch. We may have missed a throw, but the read and the play design was there. You got to find those type of matchups, man. I think you got to find them with Dallas too and get those dudes on those. How come everyone could shut Sam Howell down except us? I don't know if he was shut down last night, but he showed that he'll turn the ball over. I think this offense should be on another level by week 8 because Swift is an upgrade over Miles Sanders and Zacchaeus is an upgrade over Zach Pascal. The only reason we're not better is Brian Johnson. I don't know if it's solely Brian Johnson's fault, but I think the scheme and getting accustomed to it has been a little bit of a slowdown. But you also got to give credit to the fact that we played pretty good defensive coordinators, and those guys put a lot of time and effort in. I mean, you can see that we're the Super Bowl for a lot of teams right now. They're coming in, they're giving a lot of effort to shut this offense down. And I think early on, I said it on Twitter, guys. If you remember on Twitter, everyone kept asking about the offense. And I said, if you want my critique on it, just remember these 3 words: big play rate. That's the problem. We're not taking what's given to us because we're too concerned about winning the big play rate. I think it's going to take some time. I think schematically teams did some things to take away the big plays and said, like, look, you're going to have to beat us another way. I don't think Brian Johnson's been the problem, though, Brennan, to be fair. I think Brian Johnson, when it was necessary, I didn't love the fact, like, Swift, he made a mistake. You can't make that mistake in week 1. Swift should have got the ball more than twice. But I think when you see week 2, oh, you want to drop 8 in the coverage? You want to keep doing this? You want to keep dropping 8 in the coverage? I'm just going to run 13 straight inside zone run plays on you. That's a good play caller, man. That's a guy who gets it. Okay, you want to do this? I'm going to take what you're giving me and watch what I do to the time of possession. Watch what I do to the clock here, too. So I'll give him that. Last week, he looked on the film. He saw Emmanuel Forbes. He saw A.J. Brown, and he said, yeah, I like this matchup. I don't blame him on that one, man. Like, Emmanuel Forbes is getting cooked for a reason, and they saw that on film. You know what I mean? So, like, I think there's some nuance to that, to be fair, Brendan. I definitely think there's some nuance there. I think we got to be better in the red zone, though. I think the red zone, I made a breakdown on that, Brendan, where I broke down our third down red zone offense. It's abysmal, man. We only have one conversion on third down inside the red zone. That's not acceptable. Like situationally, we're an analytics team. Here you go, Nick. Here you go, Howie. I'm handing you an analytic. On third down in the red zone, you're like 1 of 11. Like, fix that. Fix that, please. I think Goddard is going to break out this game. I don't really think Los Angeles linebackers are that good. I hope so. I think Goddard needs some momentum, man. Plus, last week, the pass he got shows that he'll get his targets and more production. Jose said, what will you say is our biggest weakness and how would you solve it? Right now, for me, the biggest weakness on this football team is our coverage. And more so in the coverage, it's dealing with the injuries we've had in the secondary and the communication errors. Those things, I think, will absolutely derail this team defensively if we don't figure that out. Right now, I think that's our biggest problem, our biggest issue right now. Our run defense is great. We're starting to get our pass rush back together on the edges. That's starting to come back around again. Like, you can see other aspects of the teams coming together, right? Our linebackers, despite not having a great amount of them on the roster and all that stuff, like, we see it's coming back slowly in other phases. I tried telling folks that Morrow showed flashes in Chicago in pass defense. So glad we brought him back. How do we work our boy Nakobe back in? He's a green dot. Yeah, that's Ian. That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to it. I'm curious myself, and we'll do that on here. As soon as we get Nakobe back, I will pull the 22 following that game, and I will pull up the exact snap distribution, the actual scenarios in which they're playing guys, and we'll go over it. Because that's one to where they have to show us. I don't know the answer, man. They're going to have to show us that one. Saying Ian, people didn't want to listen about Morrow. Yeah, I took some crap after he got cut. And I was like, I still think he's a good player. Still waiting to see all our tight ends, Alberto even. Athletically gifted. Yeah, intriguing dude from an athleticism standpoint. Not the coordinators for me. Training wheels not taken off. Whew. Edwin said he makes great adjustments in the second half. Dante said, okay, I see your point. But do you think the Eagles are utilizing the pre-snap motion fully? The offense seems not the most creative. Brian Johnson does use more pre-snap motion than what we had the season prior on Shane Steichen. I don't think there's enough being used in terms of like stack set. I mean, Brian's using it to give Jalen looks in terms of like, okay, like, are they in zone? Are they in man? It's more to check it. I don't think you're seeing where they're motioning somebody across the field and getting the ball into their hands. I don't think you're seeing that, right? I don't think we're seeing enough stack sets to create free releases outside of like tunnels and bubble screen stuff. Like, I want to see them do those type of things as well. I know you can say like, well, Gate, the beauty of our offense is how we play off of RPOs and how we challenge teams with the R. And I get that. But, there's a certain percentage of snaps where I think you can kind of like, Dante, if I'm critiquing it, to where you could use some pre-snap motion, not to just see what the defense is presenting you, but to try to get the hands into a playmaker or the ball into the hands of the playmaker. Get the hands into the playmaker, guys. Because, yeah, that's what we're missing. But you get what I'm saying, Dante. You should do a live stream for one of the Dallas games, the Chiefs, Dolphins, Bills, or 49ers. I'll think about it. I think we harp on play calling a bit too much. Yeah, I think the play calling, it's been up and down at times. I definitely think the red zone is complex because, to be fair to Brian, in our worst red zone performance, which was the Tampa Bay game, we had opportunities that got missed. He drew up some things that came open, and we missed them. But at the same time, like it's been a little, 1 week, we're missing on opportunities. The other week, we're making some really questionable calls down there. Like, it's been a little back and forth. I think we need that harmony. We need the play calling and opportunities to come together for one game so that way everyone can see it. I think once everyone sees it, Dank, I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, like we're getting it together. Like I'll chill out on this a little bit. Like we're clearly getting it together. I just think they need to see it. You know what I mean? It's hard because like I can't show every single 22 play and break it down to the way I like to break plays down completely. It's too time consuming to do that. So it's hard to, to guide that. But I think once people don't need the all 22 to see that it's working, then I think that's when we'll see people be like, okay, like we're starting to click. So I think we're getting there. We need some real possessions time this week. Yeah, time of possession. We need to hold the ball a little bit on them. Same problem with Hurts, not looking for the open person, only looking for big play rate to number 11 after he got yelled at. In number 6, he has to learn to balance everybody, just he was doing last year. Yeah, there were some plays in week 1 in particular with Goddard where he took the high man on like a flood concept and tried to force the ball. And to be fair, the mid-developing route, it was Goddard's. Those were open. I'll be honest about that. They were open, but it was week 1. So I kind of, what's up, Wayne? How you doing, man? 11 for 11. Whoa. What do you think about Eli Ricks? You and I called it on Reed Blankenship Laugh Out Loud. What's up, Edwin? I like what I saw from Eli, but I don't have the greatest feel for it, or how it'll translate in games, because we only have I think one rep really to look at it. I think he's got some moxie, Edwin. There's some moxie to his play. Like some of the things that we say about Josh Jobe, right? Like Josh Jobe has the moxie. I think Eli has the moxie with some natural instinct. I would like to see it towards the, if it happens before the end of the season, and when I think we got problems in the secondary, we're probably going to have some struggles and some trouble. You know what I mean? But if we can get that towards the end of the season to where we have clearly clinched and we got what we want in front of us and we can play these young guys, we can get Ringo on the field. We can get, Eli Ricks on the field. We can get Jobe on the field is kind of like the guy now. You know what I mean? Sidney Brown, I think Sidney Brown's going to get a lot of reps anyways, but starting a game or two, if we can get that towards the end of the season, I would like to see how these guys respond, especially if we have other teams that are fighting for playoff position, but we've already clinched. I want to see how these guys respond to that situation. That dang boy Davis here said the best way to cover Kupp is for the D line to dominate. I think Ajama will add to the pass rush bigly. I like more Ojama, man. He's going to be a good run defender too. That size, that length he can play with. I mean, we got some dogs on that D line. Nakobe will learn a lot from Cunningham and Morrow. Nakobe still seems like big on ball safety to me long term. Just my opinion. Hey, what's up, Gate? Where is Eli Ricks? What's up, Cornelius? It's one of those guys where he's buried a little bit on the depth chart, but I mean, I think the end of the year, man, if things go right and things are going the way we want them to go, and we can get to the end of the year, I think that's when you can get a chance to see them, man. I like the play where they fake the run to Gainwell, then hit Swift on a bit of a wheel route. Yeah. Yeah, kind of like a little angle. Yeah, they do some stuff off of angle routes too that I like down there. That was pretty creative. If the Eagles get the red zone down and get Swift and Gainwell in 2-back sets in the passing game, this team will be too hard to stop. Brennan, I'm there with you on that one. Agreed, at Dank. Definitely need to use more split back sets. Ian, Dank, I've been calling for it since Doug was here. I just can't do it anymore, man, because I get mad. They do use it. I've seen it a few times on the season, but I thought there were opportunities when we first had Jordan Howard and then we had Miles Sanders back in those Doug years where I was like, what are we doing? These receivers are not getting separation. Our running backs and our tight ends are clearly the most talented players on the team. What are we doing here? Yeah. So explain the concept of all coverage for me. It's counterproductive for our D-line. The ball is getting out so fast. Yeah, we had 5 sacks, but could have been 8. So the way it's supposed to work, Dante, is you're supposed to, like the way man coverage holds you physically for a split second, right? You're supposed to hold someone physically for the split second, right? Because you're creating a disruption to the route. When you're doing this in terms of playing off coverage, when you have a young quarterback, you're supposed to be able to trap that player, right? You're supposed to be able to confuse them with some stuff pre and post snap. They tried. I don't think it was effective. I don't think that they played enough off of it. Like I was saying, you showed that look. Well, then later in the game, give a look where you're going to pressure there and then drop back right into that window. When you see them trying to isolate McLaurin on the field like that again, give them that exact look again, but this time drop that linebacker right into that window and see what happens. I don't think they did enough there, but it's about creating confusion for a split second as opposed to a physical disruption. I mean, that's the overall, nature of it, if you will. Flat's been wide open. Flat's in the middle of the field. Middle of the field's been really, really wide open. Off coverages to stop the big play, let them get completions underneath, then rally to the ball carrier. Swift goes uncovered often when he breaks into the flats. I think Swift's he's a good player, man. I think defenses are gonna have to do something to adjust to him pretty soon. And I think it's gonna open a lot of stuff up. Just because I think if you don't do something to adjust to Swift, it's too easy for the Eagles to just run you to death with Swift and hit you in the flats, hit you on some angle routes, hit you on those wheel routes. Like, you're just making life easy for us. I don't mind it, but I think you'll definitely see adjustments coming up on that. I remember the Titans used to ignore Chris Johnson as an outlet also. Yeah, exactly. My guy Edwin said Eli Ricks is a ball hawk and shut down the Colts' #1 receiver. I think Eagles coaches are trying to please everyone, especially the media. We all know that to win the Super Bowl, we need to run the ball. In the red zone in particular, I'm getting ready to jump off here, guys, but I will make this statement real quick. I talk a lot about staying ahead of the sticks in the red zone. What that basically means is getting positive net yards early and downs in the red zone because, you are dealing with tightened windows to throw into. We don't always get that, and that bothers me a little bit. That definitely bothers me a little bit. I didn't show the other play. Give me a second, guys. And I think that's where the run, Edwin, could come into play there, keeping you ahead of the sticks. Let me get to my present video file. I left the play out, guys. My bad. And I went through the effort of actually bringing it up for you guys. That's funny. My bad, guys. All right. Vacated middle in the Eagles coverage, or was it I think it was this one. All right, guys, here we go. They're going to motion into a stack set from top screen to the bottom of the screen. So from the boundary down to the field side, the Eagles should have saw this coming. All right, the Eagles walk over this way. All right, we're going to pause it here. You can see you got a stack set. You can see how the Eagles are playing it. The Eagles remain too high. Quarters, cover two looks like quarters look to me, really. Watch how they're trying to guard the outside, right? It's not, I'm going to rewind it back. It's just not effective, guys. Like, we're trying to stay and keep too much on the outside. They got to work through leverage with the linebackers. You got Slay dropping outside, and you got the safety rotating back deep into the middle of the field. Like, it's just creating these big, wide open areas. And now they're trying to get the linebacker over. Like, I don't know if I can rewind. Let me see if I can't rewind that for you. Let you see it again. Watch here, the linebacker, okay, where I see the vacated space. Look right here to Zach Cunningham, okay, who's right in the middle, right by that vacated space thing. Watch he just can't get to the spot quick enough. Like, it's a lot of open space to cover there, man. See, now he sees it, but he's just a split second too late and reacting to that. You have this big vacated area in the middle of the field. That's the stuff in terms of the coverage that's got to get better, man. Like, it's not good enough yet, man. It's not good enough yet. Sorry, guys. I lost place of where we are, bro. I lost complete place of where we are. Antonio said, Gate, time for Milton to really flash. This is a big opportunity for him. I agree. This is a game I really hope we do get to see that, man. What type of screen should the Eagles be utilizing with the personnel they have? Get Swift in the screen game. Like when we had Westbrook, it will be that dimensional to the offense. That's the next level. They actually got Swift involved last week, Brendan, it was a bubble screen, and it was effective. It actually worked out pretty well. I would like to see him use more on screens as well. I actually think he's quite elusive. Definitely red zone. We pass when we don't need to, and it's stalling out good drives. My guy, 5-star FSG, what's good, man? Says, happy Friday, Gate City in the chat room. Some Black Ninja said, Gates, do you take part in fantasy or dynasty football? If you do, you should do a league next year, and I'll join. I would love to go head-to-head against you. Yeah, we can set something up, guys. We can definitely do that. That was so frustrating. Yeah, the vacated middle, man, it's an issue. My guy Edwin coming in with the $2 super chat, man. I appreciate you, Edwin. He says, thanks for your hard work, brother. Big support. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys giving me these super chats, man. That's really generous of y'all. I appreciate you guys for doing that. Dank said, it seems every time they had guys wide open. Yeah, I mean, it's so much area to defend because, like I was trying to, the play structure, right? You're dropping back, trying to protect that deep area, right? Then you got Slay dropping back off a stack set. He's dropping to an outside leverage, probably because he's in quarters, and that's his coverage, right? You got Bradbury running with the front man he's not really getting vertical, but he's more of a vertical concept out of it. And then the underman is cutting into this huge vacated area because the safety's cleared out, Slay's cleared out. and now we're trying to get Zach Cunningham back late across and into the vacated area. It's like, it's frustrating. This is why I don't do live streams, guys, in terms of when we're actually in the game. To be fair, guys, I don't normally pick up on this stuff until I actually get a chance to, you know what I mean? You have to have a chance to see this stuff on film. But yeah, man, definitely. My guy Dante coming in with the $5 super chat, man. Once again, guys, I really do appreciate you guys doing that, man. It's very generous and it's appreciated. Let's see. This is the stupid I hate about Desai. 3rd and 17 don't matter. Just throw underneath. Look at my guy Joe, bump and run, and he blanketed dude, and they tried to rub him, but he stayed engaged. Yeah, he actually did a really good job there, Antonio. I agree. He's aggressive. That's one thing I like about Job is, like, win or lose on the rep, the man plays with aggression at least, right? I mean, technique, body positioning on the ball when it's in the air, getting through those hands correctly, definitely some things to shore up. I love the fact that there's genuine effort and athleticism there. There is. Low-key defense reminds me of 2018 when we let all these teams come back and we lost a couple of them. Oh, yeah, man. That was a Dallas overtime game. Ooh. My guy Antonio says, I'm all for the fantasy football league. How do you feel about Hurts sliding or running out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage? I don't love it behind the line of scrimmage because that's a loss of yards. I would rather him just flip the ball out of bounds. You know what I mean? Instead of taking a loss of yards there. I'm genuinely in favor of him avoiding contact when it's not necessary. I think when it's necessary on 3rd downs, he picks it up, right? We saw a play where they brought pressure. They got through. The running back kind of missed the block there. He slips it, gets under it, takes out, breaks a dude's ankles in the open field. I still think it's there. I don't think he's lost it physically, but I definitely think there's a clear concerted effort for him to avoid contact. Now, I know a lot of you guys, I see, some, not you guys in particular, I should state that. I see a lot of comments like on Twitter. I see them, all over the place on other YouTube channels to where people will say things like, why doesn't he take on defensive backs? Why does it, I do want to caution people to don't just say like, oh, Hurts is 225. This guy's 210. He should take him on. 212 was Brian Dawkins. Like, I do caution that every matchup's different. Nickel cornerbacks are normally really tough-nosed players. Safeties are tough-nosed players. Like, I get what you're saying, that there are times where you got like a 180-pound defensive back. Maybe Hurts should probably go through that player a little bit more or try to at least make a move instead of ducking directly out of bounds right there. I think that's the kind of stuff you get film on and then maybe you make the adjustments. But I'd rather him be cautious and healthy, Job so far, I feel, is going to make a leap in year 2. Okay, how good is the guy we just picked up, the slot guy? Once upon a time was really good. I don't know where he's at now. He's like 30, 31, Eric. So I don't know physically where he's at. We're going to see it on the field. But he's experienced. This is a really experienced ball player. You can see what they're trying to do, Eric. You got, 3 30-year-olds in the secondary now between Bradbury, Slay, and now Bradley Roby. So, I mean, they got a lot of experience. You can tell that they know that this communication thing is an issue. I mean, at least they're being honest with themselves there to say, yeah, we're not communicating well enough. Like, we're going to catch a loss if we keep doing this. Like, they're definitely picking up on that. I think he played for the Saints. He did. PFF didn't love him. PFF graded him low, but I don't know how much you guys are. I like using PFF because it's impartial. I don't always agree with the grades, though. There are sometimes they grade guys, and I'm like, I don't know what they saw compared to what I saw, but that seems like a heck of a low grade for that player. I don't know. I can't say I watched a ton of Saints games, but I do know that just like Justin Evans, he played some slot last year for them. So, I mean, between Sidney Brown having experience in the slot, Bradley Roby having experience in the slot, Sidney Brown now having experience in the slot doing what he did. And then, Justin Evans, at least there's some tangible form. But once again, man, the Maddox injury thing, it's definitely hurting the defense. Did you see any similarities or struggles on offense with Syking in the second half of 2021? The offense got better, and I know the personnel isn't as good as it is this year, however. Tampa. Yeah, he struggled in that Tampa game, man, to be fair. He definitely struggled in the Tampa game, but I think he made adjustments into the run game in the second half, and we saw just how good he could be. And then when we built the personnel, and now he's experienced with Jalen Hurts, we saw that kind of click, right? We saw those two guys click together. I'm hopeful that's what we're going to get over time with this, Brian Johnson, Jalen Hurts, and this offense, because the pieces are there. To me, I think the first step is red zone. They got to start putting up touchdowns instead of field goals. You know what? If we were putting touchdowns up instead of these field goals, a lot of these games, it wouldn't matter that they're playing off coverage with 1:40 left. That they're so passive with it. None of that stuff would matter if they had the type of lead they should have had. We got to take advantage of those things. I remember it being like 4th and 11 when Corey Graham was late on coverage. Yeah, we got 95 years at corner. A lot of experience, right? It's crazy. 93. Yeah, I got what you meant, man. Yeah, it's a lot of years. It's definitely a lot of years. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all so much. We're going to do this again Monday, man. We're going to do this Monday through Fridays. I'm going to try to come on for at least an hour to talk to you guys every day. I will try to make a video if I can, guys. I'm going to try to make a video that deals with probably some issue. It'll either be around coverage or we'll do something else, guys. I'll try to put out a video this weekend so you guys got some form of content. That way, we got something to go into this game, man. We got something to go into this game with. So far, what is Jalen Hurts overall? I think he's playing B to B plus ball. I think he's definitely capable of doing way more. But yeah, he's still a good player, Dante. He's still a really good player. I'm late. Oh, Benjamin, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you guys. An NFL defensive back is an elite athlete, 6 foot, 195 pounds, 20 miles per hour. It's a major collision. Exactly, Mr. Sandman. If it speeds up the learning curve for our youngins, I'll take it. Hey, I appreciate you, Dante. Appreciate you, man. Have a great weekend. Hey, man, y'all have a great weekend, too. Let's go, Birds. 5-0 is what we need, guys. We need 5-0 by any means necessary. 5-0. I'll try to get a video out this week, guys. And then, of course, we'll see you guys for Battle Bird Podcast on Sunday before the game. All right, y'all. Peace. We're out.